The United States has so far welcomed over 180,000 Ukrainians fleeing conflict under a program started by the previous administration under Joe Biden. With Donald Trump back in office, the program has been suspended. As Misha Komodovsky reports, Ukrainians are being quietly pressured to leave.
Olga tried her best to endure life in wartime Ukraine. But a year after Russia's full-scale invasion, fear and the constant air raids forced her to leave her hometown of Poltava in central Ukraine. She packed up and moved to the US in 2023.
It's incredibly painful because you realize that most likely you've lost everything you had in your life. Things will never be the same again. That's 100% certain. Maybe you've come to accept that, but what I want to say to every person, not just Ukrainians, but Russians, Europeans, Americans, we must remain human. We must understand what's happening, because no one has the right to kill simply because they feel like it.
Olga arrived on a Biden-era program known as humanitarian parole, which let Ukrainians stay and work for up to 2 years with the possibility of an extension. She rebuilt her life in Pittsburgh, learned English, found a home, and started working at a hotel. But when her work permit expired this year, she lost her job and apartment and now relies on friends and savings. When President Donald Trump returned to power, his administration paused all applications from parole holders, including Ukrainians. Those with expired entry permits now have to leave the US, while others are losing their jobs as their work permits run out. That's why Olga is in limbo. Her future depends on whether the government restarts the program.
When Trump's administration announced a pause of renewing all of the applications filed by parolees in the United States, it created a huge bubble. And later, when the pause was lifted, now the cases are processed, but it takes a very, very long time to review such amount of documents that got accumulated over 6 months.
Ukrainians who legally arrived and are still eligible for the program but have lost their work permits, just like Olga, now face a tough choice: live without income or leave the US voluntarily, a situation some called forced self-deportation.
These people entered the country legally. They got on a plane, they were screened by officers, they received their documents. To get a work permit and a job, you have to go through a full background check, including a criminal history review. You understand what I mean? The people who are here are law-abiding. They work. I don't know a single person who just sits around doing nothing. That's simply not realistic.
You don't have to find a logic in the current position of the US government. Trump's administration just doesn't want to see a particular class of immigrants, parolees, and it happens that Ukrainians just fit right into that class.
With the Trump administration already cracking down on immigration, the Department of Homeland Security sent mass emails in April to Ukrainians saying their status had changed. It gave them 7 days to leave without even addressing individuals. The message sparked fear and confusion, but a spokesperson later called it a mistake. So where does the administration stand now?
Will you let those Ukrainians who fled the war to stay in the United States until the war ends in Ukraine?
I think we will, yeah. We have a lot of people that came in from Ukraine, and we're working with them.
A bipartisan group of legislators has urged the Trump administration to let Ukrainians with humanitarian parole apply for a green card. But the bill's fate is uncertain, and many may have to leave the country long before it passes or the war ends. Still, Olga says her journey here is far from over.
I will fight for the right to stay, for as long as the war lasts, 100%. Why am I here? Because there's a war in my home country.
Olga hopes to return to a peaceful Ukraine one day, but for now, staying in the US is her only option.